Hey everyone, welcome to the Sackhoff Show. I am your host, Katee Sackhoff. Thank you so much for joining me on yet again this beautiful Tuesday. I want to take a second to remind you all to stick around for the hindsight where we answer fan questions and talk about the episode. You can actually send your questions into the sackoffshow@gmail.com and we may actually talk about your question. You never know. It's a great way to interact and I highly recommend you do it because we love to receive those emails from you. This is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So hi, everyone. That's great. I'm still in Germany. Not really in this moment, but while it's airing, I'm still in Germany and I've probably just met Nicolas. I hope that you guys had a great holiday with your families and I'm super excited about this episode. This is an episode with one of my dearest friends, primarily because he is married to one of my best friends. But seriously, Teddy Sears is a dream. He is such a wonderful human being, and he is today's guest. If you don't know Teddy, he was in The Flash. He was in 24 Legacy. He was in not one, but two American Horror Stories. He has worked for Ryan Murphy, I think like 4 times. And right now he can be seen on the show Brilliant Minds on NBC. I met Teddy very much like Ian Bohen. I met Teddy on a motorcycle ride for Keels that we were raising money for AMFAR, if you remember from that episode with Ian. I met so many of my closest friends during that ride, but he and I became really, really fast friends. I love his wife, Melissa. She is his best quality. I'm just kidding, but my husband is my best quality. So we're allowed to say that. They are just such wonderful human beings. And he is not only a really great friend, but he is a phenomenal actor. And I'm pretty sure you've seen him in something because he works nonstop. I'm going to get out of your way because I'm really excited for you to get to know my friend Teddy a little bit better because you're going to love him as much as I do. So without further ado, here is my favorite wonderful husband of Melissa Sears, my friend Teddy Sears.
How are you? Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. What? I want to literally talk about how you got into this because this is not, when I think of like actors, when I think of like male actors, and this is just stereotypically, I don't think of guys like you because in my mind, they're like, they wear tights, they jump around, and they're actory.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't mean this as, I don't mean to mean this as an insult at all. You are so normal and so much like a guy's guy, like in my mind, that your trajectory from where you started, if you look at like who you were when you were younger, like an athlete going into business, that to me was like, oh yeah, that's Teddy. But then for you to have pivoted and decided to be an actor and to be so good at what you do, because you are so good at what you do.
Jesus, thanks, Jeff.
It's one of those things where I'm like, wow, of course there are so many different types of actors because there are so many different people that fill so many different types of roles. But you are just so good at it, but you are so normal. How did you start as an athlete and as a business major and end up a successful actor? How did that even happen?
Yeah. I remember, it was funny, really quick, I remember my mom, who I just love to pieces. She, in my early 20s, I was in New York and I was pursuing acting, and I began to get some work, and she confided in me. She's like, I just kept waiting for you to like give up the acting thing and go work on Wall Street, because she saw me that way too. She at least at least that's she made that clear. And I always got a ton of support from my parents, but I didn't know that in the back of her head, she just thought, well, it was probably a phase or something. And then he's going to go, because I went to undergrad business school and I am interested in sort of the business world. And so anyway, God, this acting wasn't even on the radar for me until I was 23. I grew up in the DC suburbs. I went to a private school, all boys school. Like there was a theater program, but this was a sports centered high school, and you had to take a sport all 3 seasons, right? Fall, winter, and spring. My dad went there. My cousins went there. Like it had the reputation, and they were actively working to sort of pivot away from this, but it had the reputation as a jock school because the sports teams were always good or good enough or whatever, competing, right, for the and when I was there was a big push to broaden performing arts and to broaden things like band, and it's continued to go that way, and I just think that's so cool. But it wasn't on my radar. All my friends were on the sports teams, and I was there for 10 years, 3rd grade through 12th grade, right? So it just was sort of this was sort of like what you did. You go to the school. It was called Landon. You go to Landon, and like you play sports. It was very much though like you balance sports with school. It wasn't just like you blow off the academics and you're just there for. I mean,
right.
Anyway, so it was both. But anyway, it was a sports centered school. So. I went there. I played a bunch of sports. Outside of school, I was a really big swimmer. So like I had a swimming background growing up. I loved ice hockey. I had an ice hockey background growing up. This Landon got both sports when I was there as a high schooler. So I did both, but then I quit swimming and I started doing ice hockey at school. It doesn't matter. I did a bunch of those things and I loved it. The transition really happened when I went to college. I went to University of Maryland for a year, which was my state school. It's like 25 minutes down the road. I grew up, like I said, in Maryland. So it's like I also grew up going to games there. My grandparents went there. My mom went there. Like my sister was there. I wanted to go away to school. So I went to Maryland for a year. I walked onto the football team. I didn't see any time. The fucking, water boy would have seen time before I did because I just, whatever, it just wasn't going to happen. But I left Maryland after my freshman year. Then I went to University of Virginia and I did the final 3 years there. And what began to happen in Virginia was like a transition sort of away from athletics into the more creative stuff began to happen. And I can't really explain why or what that even meant. I was just interested in a more sort of diverse range of stuff than just like, I don't know, man, just go to football games and play Madden football in my room. And I don't know. I was academically was really interested in all the different stuff they had to offer. And then I remember going to a play there. I remember getting interested in just more creative shit. Like, and then I moved to Hawaii weirdly after college, and I worked on a snorkeling boat in the town of Kona, so on the Big Island. And I was out there by myself, and the people who worked on the boat were cool. A lot of them were mainlanders like me, just trying to sort of figure out what was going on. I was 22. I turned 23 out there, and to kill a lot of time, because I had no money, man, it was really, really hard to put it together. But I'd go to the library and check out books for free. And I'd go to movies by myself. And I don't know, maybe something began to happen there because Hawaii didn't work out. I really, really missed my family. I felt so far away from home, and I just was lonely. And anyway, I told myself, oh, I'm going to come back, but I'll just go back for the summer, And I went back for the summer. And when I was back, friends who were living in New York who had, a year had gone by now from graduation to that summer. This is the summer of 2000. I graduated in 1999. We're like, come to New York. You want to come to New York for a weekend? I was like, yeah, sure. Why not? From DC to New York, it's like 4 hours on train or bus or whatever. And when I got to New York, I was like, oh, fuck, this energy, man, this is the energy that I need. This was so different than Hawaii. And I need this, whatever New York had. I was 23, and like the pulse of the city, and like it was just what I needed. It's really touched something in me. And so randomly a high school friend was like, hey, I just got transferred. My job just transferred me from San Francisco to New York. I need to fill an apartment. Does anyone want to rent a room? I was like, yeah, I do. So it happened all really fast. But then I went to New York. This was November of 2000. And, I was interested in this field, and a guy I knew, he's like, well, why don't you come meet my modeling agent? I was like, fuck yeah. Like, that sounds great. I want to do that. Like I was interested in that anyway, which is, it's like, it's hard. No, it's not. It used to be harder to admit because I used to think it meant that like, I don't know, I was exposing myself in some way, but the truth of the matter was I thought that sounded like a pretty fun career path at the time, not knowing like it's its own, breed of crazy.
Its own demon, yeah.
And dysregulated and whatever. But he introduced me to his agent. Agent's like, sure, like if you move here, I'll give you a shot, which I realize is like, it doesn't happen every day. But anyway, so I moved and I took that room and I let the agent know I was there. He's like, okay, I'll start sending you out on shit. And like the first audition he sent me on was for a soap opera, One Life to Live, which is off the air. So this agency like specialized in more.
That was your first audition, Teddy?
Yeah, it was.
Because you booked that.
I did. I may have said this already. I don't know because I talk a million miles a minute. But I didn't know what I was. I didn't know what I was doing, but I also knew what not to do. So I just thought, well, don't do the thing that looks like shitty acting. Do the thing that like. Just like look like like it's actually happening to you. And so
like look natural,
be natural, say it like you're actually talking to a human, which is, really like if you're an acting nerd or Stanislavski or the definition of acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. And that's what I was doing without knowing I was doing it. But also the One Night to Live called the agency, I remember, and they're like, send us like 10 guys, because this agency was known for guys who were much more sort of sports centered or sports focused. It was not your high fashion agency. We were none of us were wearing 40 reg fucking suits. Okay. We were 44 longs. We were like fucking in the gym. That was like that. So it was a shirtless bartender for a Valentine's Day episode. And like, I didn't know that, but whatever. Like, that's why they called the agency. So they sent 10 guys, like, let's say it's 10 guys. And I remember the agent at the time, he's like, well, you don't have a resume, so let's make one. He's like, okay, you did scene study 1 here. You did scene study 2 here. Like, I remember he's sitting in his office. I'm standing over him and he's just typing this up. I had all these fake classes at these fake places. And then he's like, well, you don't have headshots, so let's take a Polaroid. We'll take a Polaroid and we'll just like send it over. So that's what happened. So I learned it the best I could. I didn't memorize it. I didn't even think I needed to memorize it. I just did it. I went the next day and this was ABC daytime, and went up to the office. This is pre-September 11th, so like there's no security. You walk in, you take the elevator up, and you go. And and I auditioned, and I still have to thank the casting director Tori Visgilio. I don't know if she's in the game anymore, but she read with me. She was sweet as can be. And then I remember getting a phone call like, "You got it." And the whole reason I went wasn't because I wanted to be an actor. It was because I wanted to have an interesting fucking story for my grandkids one day. It was just like that dumb 23-year-old thing where you're like, well, this will make a great story. Like I went to an audition once when I lived in New York City. Literally was what went through my head because I was terrified.
Really?
A little background
That's crazy.
I have had issues with speaking in public. I mean, who doesn't? But really, like, I was a real stutterer, stammerer, low confidence, all that stuff growing up. I remember freezing up on stage once, like reciting a poem at the fucking Christmas thing at my school when I was in sixth grade maybe. And it's because a classmate was like, "Don't choke up there." So that's all I could think of when I was up there. I was like, "Oh, don't choke up there, don't choke up there." So I was terrified because I was like, "Oh my God, I got the job, but like now I got to go to do the job, and what if I freeze? What if I embarrass myself?" I mean, I had all these thoughts. This story drives my wife crazy because she's like, "You motherfucker, I love acting. I did all the plays. I love this shit. Studied it in college, and you're dumbass fucking falls ass backwards into it." But this is so hokey, but it's very true. It found me in a way that I never would have sought it out because it just wasn't on my radar. Even though I was interested in wanting to blaze my own path and not do the sort of traditional business school route that, in this in this undergrad school is like we're training you to be an accountant, we're training you to go into, I don't know, fucking investment banking, or you're gonna, work in consulting or something. It just didn't really appeal to me in a way that I kind of wish it had. But anyway, well, I remember going the first day, the only day really. Well, what turned out to be the first day, but and I remember the blocking, and it was in a bar, and it was just full of kids my own age, and it was thrilling, and the pace of it was so fun. And I didn't sit down all day. I just paced the halls waiting to be called in, because I was convinced that if I relaxed and like stopped focusing, I was going to stutter and stammer and embarrass myself. And the shoot ended up being fun. It was so fun. And I remember leaving and thinking, I got to find out a way to do this every day. And that's how I came to it. And then One Life to Live started calling me back. They started giving me storyline, and eventually they signed me to a 4-year contract that lasted 9 months, because I didn't know what I was doing. They didn't know what to do with me, and I don't know. Something just wasn't clicking, and so they didn't pick up one of the options in my contract, and so they let me go. And I remember feeling like it was coming. So I remember thinking, the writing's on the wall, because I went like 2 weeks between episodes, and I went 3 weeks between episodes. And what I was given was, I was like, all right, they're going to write me off. I know this. And
they're not happy. Yeah.
The imposter syndrome in my brain was like, they've discovered that I'm a charlatan, that I'm terrible at this. And I was believing that, because I was like, I really don't know I think I know what I'm doing, but I actually don't know what I'm doing. And then I remember, I took a class with who's still the head of, I guess, primetime casting, Marcy Phillips, over at ABC. And I remember taking a class. It was like a one-night class with Marcy. You learn material, you do it for her on camera. And it was a scene from Alias. I never forget it. And I remember, like, I went first or second because I was so nervous. I just wanted to get it done. I prepared. I went to this thing, and and she was like, nice job, or whatever. And I was like, fuck, okay, I think it was, but I don't know. I blacked out there for a second. So one day I went to work, which was at 66, East 66 in Columbus, right by Juilliard, right by Lincoln Center. And I mentioned going in for the casting to ABC, ABC Daytime. Well, this being, let me see. When I did this was post September 11th, but I had credentials that said I worked at ABC, obviously at the soap. So I remember going into the office and going to the like casting office, going to the security guard and showing him my ID. I was like, oh, I'm just going to go up and say hi to daytime casting. I'm on One Life to Live. A security guy was like, yeah, no problem. So I went up, and instead of going into the daytime offices, I went down the hall to the primetime offices, to Marcy's office, which was open. I was like, oh, hey, Marcy, I'm Teddy. I was in the class with you last week. She's like, oh yeah, hi, how are you? Shit, like, would you drive onto a studio lot or something and knock on someone's door who you met we wouldn't do that now, because I don't know.
But we would have done that. I would have done that shit back then, though, because I wouldn't have known any better. And I think I did stuff like that, like weird stuff where you're like, yeah, well,
well, like,
I didn't know any better. I was too young to give two shits.
Didn't know any better. You're your own advocate. You sort of have to be. You want to do this, and the ladder seems like it's an impossible ladder to climb, and you're just hungry to do it. And so I did it thinking that I was going to be let go from the show, and I just popped in to say hi and sort of connect the dots. And then when I actually was let go, not too many weeks later, I called her out of the blue. I was like, hey, Marcy, this is Teddy Sears again. And she's like, hi. And I was like, I just want to let you know I got let go from the show. And I remember she said, well, congratulations. I was really taken back. Congratulations. She said, well, yeah, congratulations. Now I can bring you in for stuff. Who do I send the material to? I have something I want to bring you in. I was like, oh my God, I don't know. I don't have an agency, because I had left that agency that got me the job. And she's like, well, do you have a manager? I was like, no, I don't even know. What's a manager? So she's like, hold on. So she said, like, call me back in a minute, or I'll call you back in a minute. So we hang up, and she calls me back. She said, okay, I have a manager I want you to meet. He's like a last of a dying breed, very old school guy. He's been at it forever. And his address is such and such 9th Street. And I lived on 8th Street. I was like, so he was a block away. And she's like, I just talked to him, and he wants to meet you. So call him up. And I called him up, and anyway, long and short, after I read for him, and he's like, I want to represent you. And he's since passed away, but his partner is still my manager. So this is 2001. And it's, for those listening in the future, this is 2024, and
Wow.
we're still together. And so these weird things began to happen that, like, this sort of, whatever you call it, I don't know, serendipities or something, or
Yeah.
just doors opening, man. I don't know, but that's how, Katie, that's how all of it started. And then I started to get into school in New York and do classes, and the manager was like, yeah, anyway, yeah, that's how that happened.
But when did you realize that like you could do it as a career? Like what was the job that you booked that you went, oh, this is a big one?
So I came out to LA for the first time, again, just so scared because I loved being in New York and I loved being a New York actor, so to speak. But I read so this is back when things literally went on tape. They'd go on a VHS tape. Tape would be put in a padded mailer and get flown,
Padded envelope and
get flown across the country.
down.
And if they still had like a budget to travel people in, maybe they'd watch it. But so,
Yeah.
you're like, you didn't even know if it ever got watched, right? Because anyway, so this was for, and I didn't get this job, but it was for Smallville. They were casting the role of Aquaman in a one-off. But the inside baseball was that they were going to make this a spin-off. It's a standalone show. And so they were they were testing out the character on Smallville. They wanted him to appear here first, and then he'd, have this show. And so, and by the way, the guy who got the part, it was the first thing I read on in New York that like went to the next round. I flew myself from New York to Los Angeles. Again, a friend was getting married in Salt Lake City. And I was like, well, that's pretty close to LA. I'll just fly from Salt Lake City to LA. So that's what I did. And Alan, what's his name? Alan, he's Reaper. He is a large human being, and he was a large human being then too. He's got an inch on me.
Robin and I were just talking about him the other day, actually, and how Aquaman actually never came to fruition.
Oh, so yeah, okay.
He was arguably like a really good Aquaman.
But what happened was that the casting director at the time, Dee Dee Bradley, she's like, "Oh, how long are you out here for?" And it's like, it was sort of an open-ended thing. I was like a week or two. She's like, "Well, while you're here, you should meet so-and-so." She walked me down the hall to, God, I forget her name, Monica Swan, maybe. She was casting Soul Food at Showtime, and Monica was so nice. She's like, "Well, you should meet my friend Christian Kaplan, who casts features at Fox." So I went and had a meeting with like a general with Christian and Matt Lessel and a couple other guys who were there. And then Christian's like, "Well, we have this Firehouse movie that we're like, it's coming up pretty soon, and like and anyway, so I got an audition for this to play like an idiot fireman in this movie called Firehouse Dog, and I got this part. And so I was out in LA for a few weeks and got this gig, and next thing I know, I'm in Toronto for almost 3 months. This is 2005. And while I like to say that like that's the job, what I have found for me is there has not been one job that I think that's maybe the trap for maybe young actors. It certainly was the trap for me. Was one, there's going to be a job that's then going to sort of cement you. It definitely happens. It definitely happens. You see someone in the right thing, like, God damn, they're fucking great. They have to follow it up and also be great, I think. But for me, it's like stair steps each time. At least that's how I like to think of it. But even then it wasn't, because we've talked about this, Katie, so anyway, I'll return to that in 2 seconds. The Firehouse Dog was great. It came out in 2007. Like, it didn't do anything for me, but what it did was it moved me out to Los Angeles. It became very clear. I was 28 at the time. Very clear. If I was serious about being an actor, I had to be in Los Angeles. And then when I got here, I began to get guest work. And there was a short run. It was literally 13 episodes of a series that Victor Garber did called Justice. And then right after that, I got Studio 60. I remember reading with fucking Aaron Sorkin in the room, and I did 2 episodes of that right when the show came out. I actually weirdly just saw Aaron on an airplane, by the way. This is really weird, Katie.
Did you?
Like a week ago.
I have prayed I would never work for Aaron Sorkin, by the way.
Why?
Literally.
Because
I have prayed, because it's word for word.
Yes, it's word for word. There's no, right.
I
right.
will,
It's very specific.
that is not the type of actor that I am. It's not who I am. I auditioned for a Sorkin thing at one point, and I remember thinking to myself, God, please don't get this. Please don't book this job. Because I will never be that person.
Yeah,
ever.
Sorkin, David Mamet. There are others who are like, the words are chosen specifically,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To me, it's like, well, it reminds me of a sitcom, and I've done one or two like one-offs, but like the words are chosen for the rhythm of how it is to be delivered, and it's all very specific. And what I like about drama is you can fill in the gaps with your own sort of things to make it your own. And I always feel very locked into comedy. I didn't feel that way with Aaron Sorkin stuff, probably because I didn't know it at the time, and that might have hemmed me in or made me more like mental. But I remember being so nervous for the audition. I didn't uncross my arms the whole time. I just like, I was like playing a baseball player, so there's a little bit of that, swagger that I wanted to have. But my plan wasn't to have crossed arms the whole time. I was just so nervous. And anyway, I reintroduced myself just the other day, and he couldn't have been sweeter about it. And he had said, "Oh my God, we were just talking about that episode last night. That's so funny." And life is funny like that, man. Sometimes you find yourself in these places, and I don't know. It's like, wait a second, you're here now because we were just in. What is going on? So
you're really good at that, though, Teddy. Like you are the follow up person. Like you and Melissa both do this. You're very, very good at maintaining relationships. Whereas if I didn't have friends that maintained relationships, not because I don't adore you two, I would probably slide into like existence by myself in a closet again. I would probably never see anyone.
I mean, I
or
hope
talk
your
to anyone.
children are in the closet with you. Don't forget, Katee, you're married. You have children. You have to see them. But
you actually have to participate. Yeah.
But to your point, I have absolutely, Katee, had periods of my life where I was, not to put words in your mouth, but I was spinning off in my own orbit away from all of that. And I mean, I remember doing Flash in 2015, and there was something inside me that was very much like kind of hand up, like, I don't want attention at the airport. Like, no, I don't. If this is what being a successful actor means, I don't want it. So, and when you do that,
did people
you put
recognize you at the airport from Flash?
It wasn't it was we know you're on the flight and we want you to sign some shit because we want to sell the shit.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that was what that was. And so it wasn't about unwanted attention from, I actually find it to be so lovely. It happens so very sporadically, but when it does, it's such a lovely thing because it's a nice sort of bit of recognition for something that, you hope was impactful or at least entertaining.
Yeah.
But I got at some point out of that sort of, my own version of like, closeting myself away from the business I was in and recognizing like, fuck, isn't it cool that as the years go by, the town gets smaller and smaller, even if you're not physically here. Like, you've been on those sets where you're like, oh my God, we worked together 8 years ago. Or like, oh, you're the hair department. Fuck, it was 15 years ago. And that's what's really fun. And so what I really like is, I really like that. And so sort of, it's not networking, but it's sort of it's a nice way of sort of, I don't know, at least it reminds me that I'm part of some bigger kind of thing, because it's so easy to feel alone. It's so easy to feel like we're not a part of this thing. We're just in our own kind of things and hoping to get jobs. And it at least helps me feel like, that like there's, I don't know, part of this weird creative circus family of freaks that have somehow managed to cobble together what amounts to a life year in and year out. And I'm 47, I got a kid, and my hope is to be able to do it, year in and year out from here forward. And there's zero guarantees, but maybe it just makes me feel better that by hitting up someone I worked with years ago, and just sort of staying in there sort of, I don't know, orbit that like, it's like there is, I don't know, there's probably some ulterior motive, but like, I don't think so. I just think it's because I enjoy it.
But at the same time, though, it obviously has manifested itself, because if you're talking about, a person that you've worked with now twice, and your current job on Brilliant Minds, if your first experience was Zachary Quinto, Zachary. I don't know where that came from,
Well,
but
it's because,
if your first experience
Quack,
with Zachary Quinto
yeah.
wasn't
The first season of American Horror Story.
positive,
Yeah, and wasn't positive for sure. Yeah.
you would not be in the situation that you're in currently. You
No,
know,
that's very true.
how did Brilliant Minds come about, and how did you find yourself working with Zachary again?
Could I just say you're really good at this? Like, we're friends. We jaw around the backyard of your house, and we hang out and shit. But like, you're really good interviewer, man. And we're early on. Okay, so not like, well, did you think I was going to be fucking bad? Like, no, of course not. But I'm really enjoying this, and all the questions are logical. So yeah, Zach and I worked together in the first season of American Horror Story, which was that sort of amazing fucking.
And you played lovers, right?
Yes, yeah. We were a couple. We had bought the murder house. We bought the murder house, and Zach's character.
All I remember is that violent scene.
Did it involve a fireplace poker? And like,
it did.
Ending my,
Yes, somebody's ass. Yeah.
Yeah, somebody who may or may not be on this podcast at the moment. For those of you who haven't seen it,
for those of you who haven't seen the first season of American Horror Story, I highly suggest it.
It's a very untimely death by fire poker.
Yes.
Yeah. So. Yeah,
but you played lovers with Zachary the first time.
The first
many
time
years ago.
We bought the house, and we're like trapped in the house. He's like trying to. He's like obsessed with like making sure the house looks good. I'm miserable in this. I was going to say marriage. Miserable in this partnership. I'm like the guy wearing tracksuits. I'm like a gym rat, and like I'm going and just fucking cheating on him left here. I go to the gym and just cheat on him, and he knows it. And so we had these really like caustic and corrosive fights. And we got along well. I mean, listen, I've always looked up to Zach. I still do, man. And I remember I was like, hey, can I walk to lunch with you? I kind of want to pick your brain about, because he was producing at the time. I don't know if Margin Call had been shot or done, but I knew that Zach, in addition to being a good actor, was also a producer, and I was interested in that world. Yeah. So yeah, we walked and we chatted, and then weirdly, like once a year, maybe once every 2 years, we bump into each other at something. And Katee, us, like, we don't leave the house, man. But there's a pre-Oscar event, there's a pre-Emmy event, and there might have been one other event in there at some point. We just bumped it. So we would bump into him, and I'd stay sort of in his orbit. If I see him on something, I'd reach out and be like, man, that was so great. He did Glass Menagerie on Broadway, and Melissa and I flew out to New York to see him in it. And so we just stayed like buds, like I was here, I wasn't going to his house, he wasn't coming to my house, but it was always good times to see him. And so when Brilliant Minds came, this is what's funny. When Brilliant Minds came around, I remember getting sent the script to read. Actually, I think this, like, I think there were, like, my agency didn't have any interest in it because the environment we're in, everyone's paychecks are getting cut. And I think they're thinking is they want to maximize. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but like,
I remember having this conversation with you about how
max
the
dollars
payment
for their
structure was
client.
different.
Yeah. I mean, and it's still, I think it's still excellent, but you think you get on in years, you make more money, and that's how it used to be. But now it's like, listen, this is the budget for the show. And if you're not willing to do it for X, cool. But someone will. So
someone will.
Right. Someone will. And I definitely can't really be like, well, give me more money, because they'll be like, no, I literally just said no, and you're not someone who can ask more money at this point in your career. So I read the script because on the appointment sheet it said that the primary character's name is Oliver Wolf. It's based on Oliver Sacks, and for those who don't know Oliver Sacks, he's just this incredible neurologist. He's since passed away, but had an incredible body of work as a writer, and had a wonderful way, in a very humorous way, of writing about his cases, and the cases from Oliver Sacks's books are the cases we're working on in the show. So anyway, I remember being like, oh, Oliver Sacks is awesome, so I should give it a read. But the appointment sheet said Dr. Oliver Wolf will be played by Andy Serkis. And Andy Serkis is a producer on this. Andy Serkis' production company. And I remember being like, hold on, I need to read it. Andy Serkis is going to do a network TV show. I got to read him. This is incredible. Yeah. So I read it. I mean, and
have you met Andy? By the way?
No, I don't. Do you know Andy? So I've never met him. No.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Andy is one of the kindest, most genuinely sweet human beings I've ever met. And his brother is identical to him in their kindness. Like they are
Oh,
just
wow.
wonderful people.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. That's cool. I mean, he's such a fantastic actor. Oh my God.
So anyway, I hope you have the pleasure someday.
So I was, I got to give this a read. And I loved it because I thought the writing was excellent. And then I said, no, let's definitely audition for this. And this is also funny how life works out. I was up in Vancouver. This is February of 2023, so last year, and I was doing the finale of Flash, and they gave me like a cool haircut. And we were like, oh, cool, yeah, great. And so like I looked like I looked like whatever, like TV good, you know, where they're like, oh, yeah, this is a good haircut for TV. And I had a weekend off. I flew home, and that's when I got the audition for Brilliant Minds. And so like, I don't think without, you know, sort of I've been working on Flash. I didn't want to audition because I was like, oh, I just want to like do this finale. And like, why do I have to learn lines? And it's a stupid thing to shit on an opportunity. But sometimes when you get a job, you just want to do the job. I don't want to read on anything else while I'm doing this other job. Because I just want, I'm so happy to be working. Why do I have to think about what's next? But we do always. And so I read for it. I had just like come from work. And so like I was looking and I didn't fucking shower. So I was like, my hair looked good because I had all the goop in it from the day before. And one thing that struck me is you read, you know, Katee, you read stuff and you're like, oh, this is written how I would talk. You know, like, and sometimes you read stuff, you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm going to make. So to your point about putting in words or making it your own, you know, the Aaron Sorkins of the world wouldn't like that. But to be cast in whatever, you have to do your best job to show them that you're the best person right for this part. And so I didn't have to do that for this. I just was like, oh, this is written how I would talk. I totally get this guy. I understand who he is. And I think, let's do it. So my wonderful wife, Melissa, would like, I just recorded it right there on the iPhone, sent it in. I remember getting a note back from David Rappaport, who cast Flash, who, of course, you know, Rappaport, right away, like, and this is the first time, like, we'd like to put a strong hold on Teddy for this. I was like, oh, fuck, strong hold. This job might happen, you know? And yeah, I was reluctant to reach out to Zach because how many times have you read on something where you're like, oh, I have a friend on that show. And the friend's like, you tell this friend like, oh, I'm reading on your show. And they're like, awesome, I'll tell so-and-so. But it really doesn't.
But it doesn't mean anything.
It really doesn't mean
I cannot tell you how many times when I have had seemingly the power to help get someone hired, and I can't get that person hired.
And you think they're the right person or whatever. It
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. So
it doesn't matter.
I didn't think I was going to do that. And also, you know, Zach's a producer on the show. And to me, you know, I have high esteem for Zach. I could have seen Zach being like, oh, I love Teddy, but like, he's not the right fit. And him being the guy to, you know, he can't make it happen, but I could see him making it not happen. If he's like, no. He's not right. He's not right. He's not right for this. Yeah, I know him. I've worked with him.
Yeah.
Good or whatever, but like, or not good, but like not. So I was reluctant. And I actually ended up doing it once the test was scheduled. I remember reaching out to Zach and being like, hey man, it wasn't scheduled, but I heard it was coming up. And again, I had a strong hold. So I was like, oh, this test is going to happen. So I reached out and I was like, hey man, just, you know, I hear that there's tests coming up. And he's like, oh, cool. See you later this week. And the test, again, for those who don't know, test like a screen test. This is always done in person. You get an idea of chemistry face to face. You meet the other producers. Everyone gets in the room. You get a good feel for each other, right? Well, this was on Zoom. This was a Zoom chemistry. I've never had one of these before.
I just had one of those about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
And there was so little chemistry over Zoom, I didn't get it. And the casting director literally said, Ted, this is yours to lose.
Oh, no.
They want you.
Oh, what?
And I had the chemistry read with this girl, this like 24-year-old girl to like play her mom. And there was nothing. And I was like, I got off that and went,
well, that ain't happening.
I don't want to play her mom.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know how to work with that kind of an actor who's so flippant and like, you know, just not engaged in the thing. And I was like, that's just not, I don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
It was tough.
Well, and Zach and I know each other. So it was a warm sort of greeting. But I was really concerned. I was concerned like, well, how's any chemistry going to register? And I remember another actor friend being like, dude, like we watch people on screen have chemistry. Like we don't need to watch them in person. Like, when people connect. And that was a very good point. One of the things I did though in the test was there was a scene leading up to the scene we were actually going to be testing. And I was like, hey, Zach, like, would you mind reading the scene before and like just going into it? And it warmed us up and gave us a nice sort of trajectory into the scene that really mattered. And I remember shooting that scene with Zach, and Zach said, this is the scene that got you the job. And so whatever that was, maybe it was the lead in, or maybe it was just the way that we found our way. So that's how it came together. It was just it was an audition, and then it was this chemistry read. And then we went to work, and, we shot this in March of 2013, and then the strike happened. And so what we were hoping was going to be, a few months later, getting back to Toronto to work, 18 months later, the show just came out. So we've just had our second episode and everything's good.
What's your character like?
Yeah. So
who is your character?
Dr. Josh Nichols. It's like, listen, it's sort of the counterbalance to Wolf, whereas Wolf is this Oliver Sacks, like deeply empathic, very, has a very novel approach to patients, and his patients are literally his life and his reason for being. Josh is the head neurosurgeon at the hospital, and everything is much more clinical. Everything is more by the book. Everything's very traditional medicine. This is what I learned in school. And by the way, it's really, really fucking effective. So who are you to come in and, do this thing? And I don't know if I trust you. But what we've come to find is like, neurologist, neurosurgeon, they need each other. They both want the same thing. They want, they really do want what's best for their patients. They have different approaches for how to get there. Wolf's might not be surgical. Josh's might not be Wolf's way. But these two, even though they're rivals on the show, they find, they've got to find that sort of commonality, and we do that. So knowing Zach and having, to me, like, I hold him in such high esteem, Emmy nominee and Broadway and West End London. Like, this guy's an actor, man. Like, he's a real actor. So it's amazing to watch him work. He just he gives me something a little different every take. And if I'm not really listening to him and really sort of answering him, then I think he'd act circles around me. So, I mean, this sort of like maybe circles back way, way, way back to the beginning of the conversation. But I don't know, there's something about, getting a job is competitive as fuck, right? Like, you gotta win it in the room, and you gotta be prepared, and you gotta do that. There's a, I don't know how to say this, man, like a sports-like level of preparation or confidence, or like, this, I'm going into, I'm going to win this in the room, or whatever it is, like, I could take that from the athletic background and apply that to like just being really laser focused on wanting, like trying to win this job. And then
I find that every athlete that I've met that has become an actor has a very similar way of attacking this business.
That's a good way. Good adjective. Verb. Sorry. Good verb.
It's because it is for an artistic endeavor. It's very competitive. Yeah. And second place doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly.
And so you have to, it is that resiliency of an athlete that goes, okay, cool. So didn't get this one. Great. Awesome. I can work harder. I can do more reps. I can get the next one. And it's the way of sort of like going after it with that mentality that I think makes a lot of people successful that were athletes.
And there's something too about, well, what's the silver lining here? Well, listen, if I did a good job, I didn't get it, that sucks, I'm hurt, whatever. But if I left a good impression with the casting person, I looked at it almost like planting seeds. Like, you don't know when the seed's going to sprout, but like, I finally got a job. I'm working on, or I finished working on The Night Agent season 2, which will come out, I don't know, I think it's going to come out in 2024. At least that's what they said, with John Papsadera, who's a casting director. And I had to have read for John Papsadera for 10 years before I finally got something. Yeah. And Paps wouldn't have brought me back in if he weren't confident that he could present whatever I was, going to do to the producers. And I'm not, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was like that for so many others too, where it's like, well, and you hear the casting directors talk about it. So it's our job to remember people for the next one. And,
Yeah.
and they see you grow up, they see you on stuff, and they see you mature, and maybe they have something that's sort of at the right, right place, right time. And so there's a little bit of that I take away too. Like, all right, well, we didn't win this game, but what did we learn? Well, we learned that like this works and this doesn't work, or maybe we didn't learn shit, but you know what? It's that whole thing like, hey, you got knocked down, you got to pick yourself back up. All the fucking cliches I could throw at you, like you know what I mean? And that's sort of what I try to apply, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What, how's the show being received? How many episodes have aired? Two?
Yeah. Two have aired. I've made it a point not to track ratings or follow any of that
Good.
because I worked on a show called Raising the Bar back in 2008. It was a Stephen Bochco show. It was my first series as a regular. And Mark Paul Gosselaar, who was our number one at the time, he's like, don't read the reviews. Don't listen to any of the criticism or don't listen to any of the praise. Because if you're going to believe one, then you got to believe the other. If you're going to believe that like the show's awesome, then why wouldn't you believe that someone's like, your show fucking sucks? So I took that to, he's like, the only opinions that really matter are Stevie Bochco's or maybe the head of the network or the director that you're working with. But I really took that and ran with it. And the last series I did prior to this was Fox tried to revive 24 in 2016. And the show was called 24 Legacy. We did 13. And I remember following the weekly ratings like a horse race. Like, how did we do? Did we improve? Did we hold? Did we lose? And I remember it took a lot out of me. So I'm just not going to do it. But I do know the show's been well received because some things do see through the cracks. Like I know we were 100% on Rotten Tomatoes out of the gate. I know that we had 9 million viewers for our premiere. That's all I know. It's solid stuff. And all I need to know is that the effort and energy that NBC put behind the series and promoting it has I don't know if I'm going to say it's worked. They might have, I don't know, but people know about it. People have tuned in and God, dude, I mean, Katee, do you remember when network TV shows made literally dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of pilots every year? Dozens and dozens and dozens. Like
dozens.
60 fucking shows or something, right? Literally dozens. Yes. And so when
they'd pick up 5.
And they'd pick up 5, but there was a chance you could get a pilot and make enough money to survive until the guest work showed up again, or even for the rest of the year. When Brilliant Minds was made, I want to say that there were 9. I could be wrong; it could be 7, but 9 pilots made total from all the networks. Not like NBC made 9. And even then, 9 would have been a low number.
All of them
like
in
all
total.
Of them. So to get on one, and that's comedies and drama. So to get on one, to have there be available airtime on NBC. NBC didn't have it airing medical drama. I'm taking Chicago Med out of it because Dick Wolf's thing is its own sort of universe, I think. But to be in a show that had a time slot with a great lead and great write, it's like it's really lightning in a bottle. And
it's winning the lottery right now.
It's winning the lottery right now. And I'm very aware of that, man. And so I don't want to be flippant about the ratings of it all, but like my job is to help sell the show. My job is to, when I'm not shooting it, my job is to be a good emissary, I think, for the show. And I don't often watch the stuff I do. I didn't watch any Flash. Like that had a lot to do with it airing while we were shooting, and I just didn't want to like get in my head about the performance. But I'm not missing a minute of the show because I think it's so well done and the writing's so good. And there's such a massive beating heart of empathy that I think is something that we can all really use a dose of. So it has been well received, and all I need to do is just, I don't know, wait for.
Well, you're doing what you have to do. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
It's out of your hands.
Exactly. And, I don't see this as like coming on to your podcast and selling the show. We have we can talk about it and I can pump it or whatever, but like, I just wanted to talk to you and just sort of actor to actor. Cause you've been at it. Like, were you 16 when you started? Were you 14? Were you 18? You were
14.
You were 14, right? That's what I thought. I mean, and I was 23, but like you've been at it for 30 years and I'm not quite to 25, but there's something I find, I don't know, just by hanging around this long, there's something so wonderful about being able to be like, oh shit, I'm still here,
Yeah. It is a really interesting thing to sort of to 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 look back and to realize that, a lot of people work 25, 30 years at a job and then they retire.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's what they do. My mom taught for 30 years and then she retired.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm 44. Am I fucking retired?
Right.
I don't think so. I don't think so. It may feel like that in the industry right now for a second, but a pendulum always swings.
It does.
Both ways.
It does.
So, it is what it is. Yeah. And it's I think that one of the most important things right now for actors to do is to pivot.
Yeah.
To pivot and to build resiliency, because this industry is shifting and changing, and you have to figure out how to solidify your place in it yourself.
While the
no
sands,
one's going to do it for you.
No, I completely agree with you. And while the sands are still ever shifting underneath our feet, right? Like it's pivoting while the world is turning, and you don't know if you're standing on land or water. I mean, I'm making it up as I go along here, but it's It's not like, all right, well, I could pivot to selling insurance. I think insurance will be here in 20 years, so I'm just going to go sell insurance, right? Nothing wrong about that. I know the pandemic washed some fine actors out because they just wanted to go back home, or they wanted some more stability in their life. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And, listen, if I don't have this job, then I'm hopefully appearing on other shows and being a guest star, but like what that pays sort of versus now what it costs to live now, it's like, oh, it used to be you get a guest star. It's like, oh, I'm kind of good for a couple months
for
or
a
something.
while.
For a while, a couple months, 3 months or whatever, when my rent was $1,000 a month. And now it's like, oh shit, this guest star kind of breaks me even for the month, but also not really. So, and that's if you're lucky enough to get one guest star a month. Who fucking gets one guest star a month? Who works in December? By the way, December's like a non-month. Everyone's sort of checked out.
December shuts down.
Yeah.
And then January shuts down because everyone heads to Sundance.
Sundance, I was going to say. Right. So
it's just like, our business is a no-go dead zone from like November 14th to February. So, it is what it is.
Unless you have something lined up, you're exactly right. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
We could literally talk forever.
I know.
But I always end with one thing, and it's a card. And it's a rando question.
Okay.
And so we don't know what it's going to be. What's the coolest thing you've ever done?
Coolest thing I've ever done, man.
Yeah.
Define cool. Okay, so cool for me. What's the coolest thing I've ever done? Yeah. Oh my God, it's just so broad. What coolest thing I've ever done?
Have you ever jumped out of a plane?
I have. I mean, but like
you have. Okay, that's pretty damn
Katee,
cool.
you and I have crossed the country on motorcycles. That's cool.
We've done that. That's pretty cool.
But like
we've had kids. It's terrifying and cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, the coolest thing I've all those things. Yeah, that's like adrenaline stuff. That's like visceral sort of stuff. Cool stuff.
What's a story that since you are a collector of experiences and stories, what is one thing that damn fucking sure you're going to tell your grandkids?
That I auditioned for a soap opera when I was 23 years old in New York City. And we've brought it full circle, ladies and gentlemen. No, but I know your question is serious, and I've never thought about this, but probably this is coming to mind. Probably the coolest thing I did was take a real strong step in the direction of the things that excited me, right? Like, I don't want to say like I followed my dream, because I didn't know that acting was my dream, but I know I wanted something, I don't want to say different, but I grew up in the suburbs. No one's dads or moms were in the arts. Like what was cool was like, I wanted to just sort of listen to that inner voice and follow the path wherever it took. And I think to my grandkids, I could proudly say, like, listen, if I didn't fucking follow this stuff, then I wouldn't have had this life and this life experience and met these beautiful people and hopefully been able to, save enough where I have like a dignified, like back half of my life. Like, so I think that's pretty fucking cool that I didn't listen to someone like my mom who was like, oh, when are you going to get a job on Wall Street? Because for me, what I think if I'm distilling it down, what was cool was just fucking going for it. And even when it was really hard, well, I still found it to be, I still found it to be syncing up with who I am. I'm also someone who likes to have predictability and money coming in, and that's very much not what this career is about a lot of the time.
No.
But that's my answer. And that's what I would consider cool. Other people would be like, that sounds like a nightmare. And they wouldn't be wrong, because if you're of the disposition of that, like, no, you need to have certainty, you need to have a paycheck coming in, I'd be like, you're right. It's not cool. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But
you have to appreciate novelty to be in our business.
You do. Yeah, you do.
You can't be a person who wants the same thing every day. That's not what we do.
And how many times have you found yourself in this amazing location? You're like, well, I'd never be seeing this if I weren't an actor. I'd never be on this street at 3 a.m. shooting this thing in this weird small town, or in this beautiful mansion that they've rented out so we could. It's sort of like the places you'll go, the things you'll see, the places you'll go. That's a terrible paraphrase of Dr. Seuss, but that's how it feels. Like, wow. Well,
when Robin graduated from college, his mom bought him that book. Oh, yeah. The Dr. Seuss book.
That's the right time to read that book. Yep. That's the time to read the book. For me, I read The Alchemist at 22. And that, for me, I returned to that book that book is all about following what in the book it says your personal legend. And so do you have it there? That's the one that I'm
looking because it's behind me somewhere.
I read that at the right time, where I was like, oh, this is what it means to, because the whole message of the book is like, well, you can always go back to the thing you did before. But so why not go in this direction? Because if it doesn't work out, you know how to, sell crystal. You know how to be a shepherd or whatever. So why not go for it? And then
you're going to say crystal meth. And I was like,
right. So,
you know how to sell crystal meth.
You know how to sell crystal meth. You
can always go back.
And Paul, you can always go back. You can always go back, Bryan Cranston. Katee, amazing.
This has been really wonderful, and there's so much more I wanted to talk to you about, but we can have those conversations between just the two of us.
I can't wait.
With the four of us.
Yeah, I was going to say your audience doesn't care, but I can't wait to come to you this time. I know. This autumn. Yeah,
I know.
This autumn.
We missed you guys.
Yeah, it's happening.
We missed you guys a lot.
I miss your coffee machine. You guys have a nice coffee machine. Thanks, Katee. I love you, man. You're so cool.
I love you too. Hey everyone, welcome to The High Insight. Thank you so much for sticking around with us. Yes, us. Myself and my producer, Jeff. Hi.
Hi, Katee.
Hi.
Hi.
It's after Thanksgiving, but in reality, it's after your birthday.
Yeah, in this exact moment, I just had a birthday. But even when this episode airs, it will have been just under a month ago.
So how was your dinner for your birthday dinner? You said you went to a good restaurant.
Yeah, I went to this place in East Hollywood in LA. I think the place is literally just called Roast Duck, because there's I don't know how much you remember about East Hollywood, but there's a strong like Vietnamese restaurant scene over there. And this place, we found it on Instagram a while ago, and I just was like looking through where I wanted to go for my birthday, and we went to this place, and it was incredible. It was so good.
Wow.
It was just like you walk in, there's like literally 3 tables in the whole restaurant, and we waited for about 10 minutes for one of them to open up, and then you order your duck with rice and noodles, and it was so good.
Yum.
So good.
Yum, yum. My mom loves duck.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
Loves duck. She says that there's 2 places that had the best duck. One was in New York and the other one was in Los Angeles. Do you remember, not Barney's Beanery, was it Barney's Beanery? It was in Westwood.
Mm-hmm.
It was a college bar.
Sounds like Barney's.
Yeah, does it?
I mean, that's the vibe that Barney's Beanery has.
But there's no Barney's Beanery in Westwood.
No, it's in West Hollywood, but
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this was Westwood. So I forget what it was called, but I used to go there with a fake ID all the time. But during the day, it was a restaurant. And at night, it would turn into like this restaurant/bar that all the college kids would go to. But my mom, every time we came, she would go with me underaged into this place because they had the best like crispy duck
yeah.
that she'd like ever had, and it was like the thing she loved, and I don't remember what it was called, but it was right on the corner.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, so we were. I'm glad you had a good birthday.
Well, yeah, and so here's the
glad you had a
shirt
good-
that you gave me for
And you went to a
everybody
good
see.
restaurant.
Yeah. Restaurant is a lovely, lovely gift that I was so surprised to get. And thank you again for the gift. And for anybody that is a long time hindsight watcher knows that this is my word that I can't spell very well. And Katee has helpfully given me all the wrong ways to spell it, but the correct way to spell it on the back where I can't see it.
Which makes it even funny.
Yes.
It makes it even funnier that it's on the back.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you one now that says congratulations. No,
It was so funny though that
Yeah.
when I got home with it, I showed Robin when I went and I picked it up. And I was like FaceTiming him when I was at the store where we were figuring out the placement of everything. And then he was like, you need to put the correct spelling on the back. And I was like, I already planned on it. What great minds think alike.
Yeah.
And I got it home and he looked at it and he was crying, laughing. And then he goes, wait, how do you spell it?
Yeah.
Like he's looking at the front of it because the more you spell it, it's spelled, or stare at it spelled incorrectly, the more you have no idea how to spell
telling you, it's a
rest,
hard-
A-U, rant.
Restaurant.
Restaurant.
Restaurant. Yeah. No, I was laughing pretty hard when I opened it up too. And it was the last thing I was expecting. And it was pretty great. So thank you. It was
Oh,
great.
you're so welcome. But we saw it and Robin goes, I kind of want one. And
Well,
I was
yeah,
like,
I
yeah,
mean-
it's really funny. And then we were like, maybe that could be our first piece of merch.
Well,
just
it is
restaurant t-shirt.
Official Sackhoff show merch now. Let it,
It is.
shout out in the comments if you want a restaurant shirt.
If you want a restaurant shirt.
The most asinine way to promote this show.
Just just, you know what though? It would make people look.
It's true.
People would be like, what the hell is that? And just put like the Sackhoff show on the back of it.
To be clear, this shirt doesn't say anything about the Sackhoff show on it. So
No, we would have to add that somewhere.
if I say, the Sackhoff show, people are going to be like, what are you talking about?
Oh, God. And if you have no idea what we're talking about, you guys, it's Jeff doesn't know how to spell restaurant.
Yeah.
It's his word that he always spells incorrectly.
Yeah. As a
There you go.
40-year-old man, I still, to this, even as we're talking about it right now, I know you just said it a few minutes ago, but it would be hard pressed for me to do it. So
Yeah.
And this shirt
not
doesn't
easy.
help.
No, it makes it worse because there's a lot of them that make more sense,
Yeah. I mean, what do we got on here?
especially the first one.
Restaurant.
Restaurant.
That's how you say it where I'm from in the Midwest. Restaurant.
Where you gonna go? I'm gonna go to that restaurant.
Yeah. You want to go to the restaurant? Yeah.
Which is exactly why you probably can't
Yeah.
spell it
Yeah.
because you're phonetically saying it wrong.
It's not the only thing that I
Oh, my
Allison pointed out once. She said, I always say the phrase, all's you got to do.
All you got to do.
Like, I'll say like, well, all's you got to do. And she's like, people don't say that. And I'm like, my people do.
Where I come from.
Yeah.
Where I come from. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that you love your shirt. It
That's
makes
great.
me happy.
It's fantastic. It's a
It
hard gift
does.
to top.
Well, it is my love language. So
Yeah. Well, now
It
you
really
just
is.
set me up for your birthday. I got to really think of something now.
You have 6 months.
Yeah.
Oh God.
For
I know,
your-
but this is it's also my love language, but I also feel guilty about it too, because I know that I'm good at it.
Mhm.
And like when Robin buys me things, I just want to know he thought it all.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I know that it's not something that he like excels at.
Yeah. I like giving gifts too. It's certainly probably my love language as well. Like, I don't know about you, but I keep a list on my phone of gifts. So throughout the year, as I'm thinking about it, I write down for each person I know, I write down like an idea for a gift for them. If they casually mention something, I make sure to put it in my gift list.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I do that shit all the time. I also have a list of things that would make really great gifts for like housewarming parties or like when I get invited to a dinner party.
Mhm.
I just went to this place here in Portland the other day, this phenomenal like Palestinian store that has all these gorgeous textiles and coffees and teas and soap, and like it's absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
And they've got this olive oil that's like a 99-year olive oil.
Whoa.
He's like, it's I mean, amazing. Like this, it's just, I don't even, or maybe he sold 1,000 bottles of it. He was telling me like that they got it and it was like such a big seller because it's like amazing.
Yeah.
But I walked in there and I literally in my head jogged it and went, this is the perfect gift for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, stunning. I'm so excited to
There
put it on
are-
and buy myself gifts.
This is on topic right now because we're coming up on Christmas very quickly in a couple of weeks.
We are.
When this episode airs. And I have been thinking a lot as an adult, like getting gifts for other adults sometimes can be a little difficult because most people, once they reach a certain age, they can kind of afford to get the things they want to get, so you're not really like buying people socks or whatever. It's not a big deal, but like books also are a nice gift, but it's like sometimes people are like, yeah, whatever, I've found what I've started to do is there are a couple of things that are really nice for people that always people are going to like. One is a car detailing. Pay for a car detailing. That's a good thing. That's what Allison got me for my birthday this year. It was great.
That's a really great gift.
For people that don't have house cleaners, just paying for somebody to come clean their house. It's good. And then the other one that I really like is good sheets for a bed.
We should probably talk about Teddy Sears a little bit.
You guys clearly love each other, get along very well. I think I found it very funny how he kind of just stumbled into acting because he wanted a good story to tell about the time he tried to audition for something.
And you know what's funny about it? I was looking at his IMDb to sort of like, off the top. Teddy doesn't stop working.
Yeah.
Ever. Like he's literally in this moment, he is in The Night Agent and Brilliant Minds. He doesn't stop working because Teddy can play everything.
Yeah.
He's that guy that can just play everything. It's amazing to me. He could play an FBI agent. He can play a cop. He can play a lawyer. He can play a gay man. He can play a straight man. He can play a male model. He can play a fireman. He can play a crazy guy. He can play a doctor. He can literally play everything.
Right.
Everything.
Yeah. So
he could literally play like a guy that's like a bad guy. Like all you got to do is like put like creepy glasses on him.
Yeah.
I was going to mention something about children. I don't want to get flagged, but
I
like,
see what you're saying.
You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes,
He could play like a really
play a
bad
bad
guy.
Yeah. That's the way that I used to, whenever I would walk through bad neighborhoods as a white man, I had my childhood like wire rimmed glasses and I would put those on. And I knew that was the scariest way that a white dude could look because you just look like you're some kind of like serial killer just stalking through a neighborhood.
You do. You do. We have a friend. Our friend, Robin and I have our friend Derek, who leans into his oddness. And it's one of the reasons I love him. I adore this person. But he will lean into the oddness. He is the guy that will grow his hair out super long. He will wear tube socks pulled all the way up with sandals. grow a like stash and wear wire rim, wide glasses, and then like put his hat on like slightly crooked. Like he's just
So you never
that guy.
You never quite know how to approach him.
Just like we picked him up to go to this wedding, and he had on overalls rolled all the way up to turn them into like high waters, and like a pair of like white tennis shoes. And we were like, with no socks on, and we were like, God, I fucking love you. You're so
this
weird.
guy sounds like my fashion inspiration.
He is. You guys would really like each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Teddy is, not only is he constantly working, but he's very good.
Yeah. He seems to just naturally be good at it and naturally fell into it. And, that's cool.
I know. He's one of those people, like even his wife and I are like, God, we fucking hate him.
Well, he mentioned
like you love him, but you hate him.
Yeah, his wife mentioned she studied for this and everything, and he doesn't even go to school for it. Shows up at an audition, and then has been working every day since then.
By way of male model.
Yeah.
Like is also the like, I just stumbled into modeling because I'm also 6'3.5" and like gorgeous.
He is very fortunate, and this probably has a lot to do with it, that he is such a nice, cool guy. Because there is a version of this person that is a complete piece of shit. And I'm sure we've all met those people.
There is a version. And that's what's so funny about Teddy and his wife as well. Like, you all know how much I love Melissa based off the intro. Like, they are the kindest people.
Yeah.
Like, every time Ginny had an appointment, they called that night to check in.
Yeah.
They put us on a text chain so they could constantly reach out. Like, they are salt of the earth, good, caring people. They're just wonderful, loving human beings.
Yeah.
And we're so blessed to have them in their life. One of the things that we miss the most about Los Angeles is them.
Yeah.
Because they lived down the street and our babies are the same age. So their son and Ginny are like 5 months apart.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll have to hit him up and start hanging out. Does he still live in LA?
Yeah. He does.
Right.
He does.
Maybe I'll be friends with him.
Yeah. Well, hopefully Brilliant Minds gets picked up for another season, because I would love for Teddy is that guy who works all the time, but he never is the guy that's been on a show that's gone multiple seasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we all know those actors that are like one season of this, one season of that, one season of that. It would be really great. I think maybe he did one show for 25 episodes. I think it was Above the Bar, Rise the Bar, Raise. It was a lawyer show that I think might have gotten two half order seasons. And I would really love for him to be on a long running show. Raising the bar. Thank you so much. It couldn't happen to a nicer person.
Yeah. He seems like I hope so too. I know there's lots of actors like that you see somebody like him and you're like, where do I know them from? And it's like, you know them from everything. They've been in everything. Yeah. It's like Stephen Root. He's the ultimate. Do you know Stephen Root?
I worked with Stephen Root.
Yeah, he's the ultimate. Where do I know that guy from? Because he's been in everything.
Stephen Root was in my season of 24, and I murdered him and shoved him into an air duct vent. And all I could think is they're going to find him when he starts to smell.
Yeah. He was in some Star Wars thing too.
Oh my God, look it up. I don't know.
I feel like he was. Oh, he was in Boba Fett.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes complete sense because Yeah, now I remember it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. He is great.
You got to get Teddy in some Star Wars too.
It would be so fun. We never got to work together on The Flash. Yeah. We never got to work together on 24. Like, we've literally never gotten to work together. I would love to work with him.
And it was only because of Amphar that you guys actually met?
That is the only reason we met.
Yeah.
Yeah. He and Melissa went on the rides. Melissa always was on the back.
Yeah.
And Melissa, we always joked because she always looked so comfortable, and they were always on this touring motorcycle. Melissa looked like she could make sandwiches for everyone while we were all riding. Like, she was always just like, this is so relaxing. And we're all like, on mile 200. And she's like, anybody need anything?
Yeah.
Just
That's funny.
Reach into my little glove compartment down here. And she's like, was like mama on those rides.
Seems like you've made a lot of really good friends through Amphar. before, which is,
I have.
yeah, like I think
I
it
absolutely
feels
have.
like the last handful of guests we've had. Well, I know Ian was Amphar and John was Amphar,
Trisha.
right? Trisha. Oh, although you met
John.
Trisha on something else.
Trisha Battles. Yeah, something else gets come to mind. I was like,
Yeah.
when did I meet Trisha?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so I hope it gets picked up, and I hope that everybody seems to know a little bit more about Teddy now because he's wonderful.
I did want to mention too. He's mentioned that he plays a character that's based off of Oliver Sacks, and I don't know how familiar you are with Oliver Sacks, but I just wanted to say, anybody out there that is interested in this kind of like stuff about the mind and medicine and all this stuff, Oliver Sacks.
Oh, you mean Zachary Quinto plays that character?
Yes, one of them was Zachary.
Okay.
Yeah. Either way, Oliver Sacks is somebody that I would recommend people go look. There's a movie called Awakenings. Do you remember that movie with Robin Williams?
Yes.
And Robin Williams plays Oliver Sacks in that because it's based off of a true story. And there's a book based on of the same name that is really good too. And he's a great thinker. He's no longer alive, but he's a great thinker and had written a lot of really good books. And I would highly recommend him.
I saw Oliver Sacks down there, and I was thinking about Oliver Peoples, which is sunglasses.
Yes. Well, we can talk
about
about
that. I remembered that he brought it up in Brilliant Minds. He did. There you go. Let's answer some questions or read some comments.
Yeah.
This is about Grant's episode. At Yes Veritas says, my brain cannot comprehend the fact that Katee doesn't have an accent. She does such a good job as Amina on the Flash. Great interview. Love you both. I love that some people think it's a great accent.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love that. There's been a couple people that have said that to me, that they thought I was British.
Yeah.
But then there's also a lot of people that are like, what the fuck is that accent?
Well, British people probably think that. I would guess that the Yes Veritas is maybe not British.
Yes, Veritas.
Yeah.
That's, I think, how it's.
Yeah.
Oh my God, my dog has the stinkiest ass right now.
Happies.
God, we live in a rainforest now, and the dogs hate rain. So they will not go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Happy, he's holding in his shit right now.
Happy, let it go.
At the Human Ranger says, be nice to Katee, you savages. She's effing hilarious. This is in regards to the May Not Win episode. Yeah. Thank you.
We're still getting comments on that, and somebody came to your defense, so I thought it was.
Thank you. You mean about Plo Koon?
Yeah. I think everybody's probably ripping on you still.
Oh, I'm sure they are. I think the thing that people are ripping on the most is my feigned like horror and disappointment and anger, which is complete joking.
Yeah, because you're
I'm just
hilarious.
that good of an actress.
You're hilarious.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah. On that note, let's get into that mail sack. I can't wait to come back after Germany and show a picture of me with Nicolas.
I am very jealous, first off, that you get to meet Nicolas. And I'm wondering what Nicolas is thinking of all these times that we mention him on the podcast.
He's like become like he's literally at this point, Nicolas is like a mascot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he wrote us an amazing song, so all the love we can give him.
Thanks, Nicolas. Steve said, greetings. On the Grant Gustin pod, Katee again casually mentioned her singing ability. She has alluded to this a number of times in episodes past. What's up with that? Stop teasing us, Katee. Sing us something right now. Perhaps an a cappella version of the male sax song or whatever. I'm sick of hearing nothing but the rain. Come on, Katee, LOL. Funny little joke there, Steve. Here's the thing with me singing, though.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it in front of people. I can only do it on stage.
That's just me. You can only do it on stage? Well, you're kind of on stage right now. I mean, you're on YouTube.
But I like clam up.
You're on YouTube and it's just me. You want me to play the male sax song again? You can sing along?
No.
You sure?
No, I can't do it. See, I can't do it.
I don't know.
I literally can't do it. If you put me on stage in front of people, I can do it.
All right. Well,
I can do it in a booth by myself.
We'll remember that because we might have some live shows coming up. So maybe we'll put that in there.
And right now, the only things I'm singing are like kids songs.
Children's songs. Yes, yes.
You want me to sing You Are My Sunshine in so many? I have sing You Are My Sunshine so much that I try to make it different now.
Well, let's hear a version.
No.
The people are demanding it, Katee.
Because if it's super bad, no. We sing Ginny, You Are My Sunshine all the time, and I get so bored that I like try to change it, and I'm like, how do I do this? I'm trying to figure out how I do it. My only sunshine, you make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know how much I love you, so please don't take my sunshine away. So I try to change it because I'm so bored.
Beautiful. That's what we wanted. That was beautiful, Katee.
But that's not like...
No, that was beautiful. That's
not beautiful,
I think,
but thank you.
No, it is. And I think compared to probably how a lot of parents are singing it to their children, they're going, you are my sunshine, you're my sunshine.
But I try to change it because we sing it normal every night. Like, you are my sun. Like, you know.
You're trying to put a little bit of a...
I change it. And I change the way that it's like put together because I try to... And sometimes it sounds like shit.
Yeah.
And I just make it up and I change it constantly. But there's this really beautiful song I sang. Do you remember the movie Beaches?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So there's a song that Bette Midler sings that is like... so good, and it's baby mine, don't you cry, baby mine, dry your eyes, rest your head close to my heart, never to part, baby of mine.
Wow.
Such a good song.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I sing that to Granger all the time when he's crying.
You got pipes, Katee. Those are great.
Well,
yeah.
Sometimes. I have to hold it back because where my voice is most comfortable, in all honesty, Jeff, is belting.
Yeah.
Like because it's musical theater. So it's like I love belting like alto and just like,
Maybe we'll get some show tunes set up for a live show.
That's where I'm good. That's where my voice is like really good. Like trying to sing like subtlety is really hard for my voice because I want to like sing as loud and low and gritty as possible. But anyway, you guys, that really made me nervous, by the way.
You did great. It's just me.
I'm like sweating.
No, you're great.
Having a menopausal moment now after that.
Beautiful.
Stephanie says, totally digging the podcast. So glad you took it on as a project. Is there any chance that you were in Toronto around the same time as Bionic Woman and your hair was dyed brunette, having a manicure at the Nouvelle Marie Spa inside the King Edward Hotel? Probably not. That's a wild shot question, isn't it? My husband and I used to go there when we were feeling fancy, and it was a good hideout hotel for celebrity types. I remember meeting eyes with a woman who I was sure was you, but with brown hair. And I remember the look I got back was, oh, please don't interrupt my personal time. So of course I did the Canadian thing and didn't say hi or anything else to the celebrity I thought I had spotted. I've always wondered if that was you, and I never would have asked, except I'm writing about the other thing. LOL, keep on keeping on, Stephanie. Stephanie, I don't think it was me because I've had brown hair once in my life, and it was way before Battlestar. I dyed my hair brown because, like we've talked about on this show so many times, people didn't know what to do with this like little blonde girl who like acted like me, like who was like a truck driver. And so I was like, well, maybe if I dye my hair brown, I'll work more.
Right.
And I booked MTV Undressed with brown hair, and I booked one other thing with brown hair, and then ironically they dyed it blonde. And that was the only time. So I don't think I would have had brown hair around that time.
And on Bionic Woman, you did not have brown hair.
I was blonde.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think it was me.
Interesting. Have you ever been to the King Edward Hotel?
No.
Did they shoot Bionic Woman in Toronto?
No, Vancouver.
So.
But I vaguely remember going to a convention in Toronto, like during that time, but I wouldn't have had brown hair. So
maybe I was confused because your hair can, in certain light, your hair doesn't. Like right now, I'm looking at it, it looks darker. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It can definitely like change color, especially like depends on how much I'm in California. Like when I'm in LA, my hair gets lighter. And I remember looking at pictures because I didn't dye my hair until I was probably like later into high school. And I remember my 16th birthday, there's pictures of me with like short bob and my hair is definitely on like the darker blonde side because it's Oregon. But then my hair just naturally started even getting lighter when I moved to California and was in the sun all the time. So it wouldn't surprise me if my hair starts to just get darker while I'm here.
So do we think that there's a doppelganger of you in Toronto that likes to get manicures at the King Edward Hotel?
I'm sure. You know who's my doppelganger that like slightly offends me, but it also doesn't? Is that, you remember the confused woman? With like the math, it's a meme.
Oh, yes.
So everyone always says, I thought that was Katee Sackhoff. On one hand, I see it. On another hand, I want to say to them, I'm not fucking 55. Like that person is clearly.
Who is that person?
She's supposedly an Italian actress.
Because you know who it looks like to me every time I see it? It is Julia Roberts. But then you look at it a little bit longer and you realize it's not her, but just like initially I'm always like, is that Julia Roberts?
Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see that.
I want to ask a deeper question that this made me think of as we wind down here. And I don't know if we've talked about this or if you've talked about it with people, but I'm interested in, at what point did you start to feel like it was okay to call you a celebrity?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I don't, it's a weird thing, right?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't consider myself a celebrity because I consider people like Julia Roberts a celebrity.
Right. But you're to Julia Roberts, you're probably not a celebrity, but to somebody else, you are a celebrity.
Right. So I think it's sort of like, I think I sort of started understanding it and going like, oh yeah, I get it. I get it. Probably not till Mandalorian.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Even though you were probably getting recognized for Battlestar when you'd walk around just in your day-to-day life?
No, because I'm not, I think in stature, I'm not what people would expect. The thing that I hear most from people when they meet me is, I thought you would be bigger.
That's taller, maybe. That's a horrible way to put it.
Well, I think it's all of it.
Right.
Like I hear a lot, like you're really slight. Like I think that people are surprised to see me and see how small I am because I'm 5'5.5". Like I'm not a big person.
I think that was my experience too. When I first met you, I was like, oh, she's shorter than I expected.
Yeah. And so I think that people think that I'm going to be a little more masculine than I am. So I don't think that I get recognized in the gym a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think that I'm more aggro in the gym.
Yeah,
I think it's association.
Oh, there
you
she
know
is.
What I mean? Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know.
So it wasn't until Mandalorian that you really felt like, I mean, it certainly like there were times before that where you would get recognized and it would probably start to dawn on you that people knew who you were.
But it was few and far between. It wasn't a lot. I actually get recognized from Longmire the most.
That's true.
Because I don't get recognized from Mandalorian. I get recognized by people who watch The Mandalorian and are fans of sci-fi and know that I play her. People don't recognize me as bo-katan. I get recognized the most for Longmire.
That makes sense. I mean, it was probably the more broad project you've been a part of, not niche sci-fi stuff. So
I look like myself.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
I was just talking to a friend of mine and he was like, so this is weird. My parents want to know how Katee Sackhoff is because they're huge Longmire fans.
Right?
Yeah. I said
Right?
you were awful. So that's
You should. I tell people that all the time. Thank God I'm not an asshole.
Yeah.
we're getting ready. I'm trying. We're not getting ready. We are trying to put together a traveling Longmire convention.
Ooh.
Because I know there's Longmire days. I know that exists, but we don't all go. So I'm trying to put together an actual like convention.
I'm sure
Yeah.
people would love that. And that's
in Colorado.
There you
I
go.
think would be the first
Yeah.
one.
And this is why you stick around to the end of the hindsight for these hot tips.
There you go. So you guys let us know if you would buy a restaurant shirt. I think it'd be funny.
Yeah.
Let us know what else.
Where can they email us?
Oh, email us at thesackoffshow@gmail.com. And yeah, I think that's everything.
Yeah, I think we covered it.
I think we covered it. I'm still in Germany.
As somebody said in one of our emails or I think it was a comment, they laughed at on the last episode. We said, I think we should just end this.
Yeah, because it had just gone on.
Yeah.
And we do really, I really do just end it.
Yeah.
Like when it just like with the,
like right now,
the spirit moves me right now.
Right now, this might be cut.
This is it. This is it. This is going to be cut. So on that note, y'all, we will see you next Tuesday. And that's what's up.